Whether we think about it this way or not, a big part of being a superhero is, actually being a proper, upstanding member of society. In both guises, we always like to assume that the person who's saving the day, whether he or she, that person probably has a decent job and probably pays their taxes and stuff like that, along with saving people. You know what I mean? That type of thing. What if I told you though that that's not always the case? I'm Guapo Jim, and today I'm gonna be breaking down Hancock and why this movie about a homeless superhero is a true hidden gem. Before I talk about Hancock, this is a small channel. Not a lot of people who watch my channel are actually subscribed, and Mandem is trying to change that. So if you do like this video, I'm gonna need you to like this video, subscribe, comment, share, the whole deal. It's me, the 5-star general. All support is super appreciated. I also got some links down below if you guys wanna click them up and see where that takes you. Y'all would be the real MVP. Helps me keep the lights on in this place. With that out of the way, let's get to some Hancock, baby, all right? So, for those of you who don't know or are too young to remember, Hancock is a 2008 superhero film. Kind of an interesting side note, but this movie right here is a completely original concept. As in, it was not based on any comic book or cartoon or anything like that. Like, it was truly just meant for the screen. For any TV fans watching, this is kind of cool, but the final version that we ended up seeing in theaters of this movie, it was actually co-written by Vince Gilligan, who, if that name doesn't sound familiar, he's actually the creator of Breaking Bad. So as much as this was an original concept for a film, it did have some pretty big name Hollywood talent behind it. So that has to mean something at the end of the day. I've said so like 20 times, but I don't even care. I'm just gonna keep that in because this is just real and that's how we do it, Basically, John Hancock, he's not your average superhero. If I'm being completely honest, he is the opposite of that in every which way and form. Like, the best way to think of him, he's kind of like Superman, as in he can fly, he's fast, he's strong, bullets bounce off of him, yada, 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 your typical superhero powers. So you would think that with all of these powers and abilities, he would be a boon to his city, which is in this movie, Los Angeles. But because this is a movie, the complete opposite of that happens. And my guy, he's actually out here getting drunk as shit, living on the street, getting turned up. He does save people or help in crimes, but when he does, he causes so much destruction that it almost kind of negates everything good that he did. And then to add icing to the cake, he also doesn't care about any destruction that he causes. So a lot of his times, his rescues turn out to be, it leaves the town very worse for wear, if that makes sense. And because of this doesn't make him very popular in LA, even though he is the most powerful person there and he could literally raise the town if he wanted to, but that's neither here nor there. That all changes when Hancock meets Ray Embry, who is a PR expert who believes that he can change Hancock's reputation with the public with just a bit of image rehab. After Hancock saves Ray's life in a chaotic and very messy rescue, as always, Ray offers to help him, and he is like, yo, like, if you can just take this little bit of humbling, honestly, bro, I'll be able to rehab your image and I'll be able to let people like you, and everything will be good. Reluctantly, Hancock is like, nah, like, I'm not doing that, but overall, he's like, okay, if you think you can do it, let's do it. And because of this, the two of them, Hancock especially though, they go on a journey of real self-reflection and trying to change themselves, not only to appeal to the public, but also just to be a better person overall. Through this change, Hancock himself, he does deal with his own inner demons and everything that comes with the loneliness that he happens to feel by basically being, as far as he knows, the last of his race and being so different from the people that he saves on a regular basis. But just as Hancock begins to win over the public and people begin to see his potential, shocking secrets come out about his past, and they pull him into a mystery that's literally been looming in the background for decades. These revelations, they force him to confront a side of himself that he's long forgotten, and it does challenge everything that he knows about himself and his powers, but also just the possibility of finding a place where he himself actually belongs. Hey, what's guan slime? If you're watching this right now, I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna assume that you're a fan of unorthodox superhero movies. If that's the case, Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker would be your shit. I actually made a video breakdown about that film and I've left the link in the description below. Do yourself and your boy a favor and check that out. You will not be disappointed, I assure you. From a production standpoint, this movie was in production hell for about 12 years. As I said before, it was rewritten multiple times, and because of its more comedic undertones, at one point, Dave Chappelle was actually considered for being Hancock until Will Smith came in and took the role for himself. Side note, I would love so much to see Dave Chappelle in a superhero movie. I don't even care. There's a little boy in me that shit would just gush. Comment down below if you guys feel the same, because I know for sure I'm not the only one who feels that way. This movie, along with all of the multiple rewrites, it did also go through multiple name changes, with a lot of movie executives feeling that the name Hancock was just too vague and audiences would have no idea what the movie was about. Cooler heads did prevail, and after Will Smith signed on, they decided to leave the title as Hancock, and they just kind of banked on the fact that Will Smith is here, and him having the star power that he does, he'll be able to get asses into seats. Movie executives, in that case, they were not wrong, because during this movie's theatrical run, it did numbers. Like, it did really well. It was actually the 4th highest grossing film of 2008. Critically speaking though, I'm not gonna lie, the critics, they were not fucking with this movie at all. I'll be completely 100, I'll be very blunt. They did not like it. There were a lot of concepts that they did enjoy, but they felt that the movie as a whole came off as very tonally disjointed. Because of this and the fact that the MCU was in its infancy but really starting to take center stage, this movie and other non-tentpole superhero movies, they did kind of take a back seat, and they were often forgotten, just, you know, with everything else going on. In more recent times though, people have looked back on this movie a lot more fondly, and I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a cult classic, but it's not necessarily a movie that people hate anymore. If you do want to watch this movie and see what I'm talking about for yourself, you can find it today streaming on Amazon Prime Video. All in all, Hancock, it was a tricky one for me. Maybe it's because we never see it, but I have always loved the idea of a homeless superhero, or at least someone who has nothing to really offer. They don't pay taxes and shit themselves, but they still just want to help people. I love that idea. I don't know why. And I like that this movie kind of played on that just a little bit. Will Smith, he did his thing in this movie. You know, he was all right. He was serviceable. I'll be the first person to admit I'm not the super biggest Will Smith fan. Please don't slap me. But as I said before, he was super serviceable in this film, and he felt real. He felt good, you know? Jason Bateman, on the other hand, that guy is now and forever. That's my boy. That's my nigga. I don't care. I never watched Ozark, but I'll be the first person to admit I will watch Jason Bateman in just about anything. He's that guy for me. The subplot with Charlize Theron, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool, and I would have loved if they kind of touched on that just a bit more, or if they showed us maybe a flashback of the world where the Immortals lived, or even just a flashback of them living their lives, that type of thing. I would have loved that. That's, you know, super side note, but I always do find it funny how Will Smith is never in movies with black women, like he's never casted with black women, yet the black woman that he's actually married to in real life, she treats him terribly. Again, I'm not necessarily saying that one equals the other, but I do just think that's kind of funny, and I'm just kind of putting it out there just for some food for thought, that type of thing. To be honest, again, besides that, this movie, it was good. Like, the action scenes, I thought they were sick. it had humor to it. It was funny. Like, it did have jokes. Not all of the jokes landed, by the way, but I did applaud the effort quite a bit. More than anything though, this movie, it had a true emotional depth to it that I didn't expect when I started watching it. And just in terms of character development, again, it had all of that as well. You guys know me, I gush over that shit, like that's what makes me hard. I get it, I'm weird, whatever. Anyway, you guys know I'm always out here and I'm trying to put you guys onto some next shit. And I just wanted to let you guys know why I always thought that Hancock isn't just necessarily a movie about a homeless superhero, but in and of itself, it is a true hidden gem. Thank you if you've made it this far. If you're a real fan of this type of content, I'm gonna need you to like, subscribe, and comment down below on which other shows or movies you guys think were true hidden gems. Stay safe, and until the next time we meet, later days.